Oh, come on, church. Somebody say, all right, all right, all right. Hey, do me a favor. Before you sit down, look at the screen. Let's do this together. Let's go. Hey, kingdom come. Let's go to Matthew 6, verse 9. Read it with me. It says, this then is how you should pray. Come on. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Come on. Y'all ready? Look at your neighbor and say, kingdom come. You may be seated. There were two boys. One's named Gary and his best friend named Steve. Gary and Steve were the same age, 14 years old. This was back in the day. I'm going to tell you the truth. Gary is 74 years old now. But at 14, something happened that changed his life. They would meet on a Saturday, the whole youth group, and they did a training on how to knock on the door and tell people about God. Then they went on the street for 2 hours, came back to church, had lunch, and in the afternoon went back again. On that morning, 14-year-old Gary, 14-year-old Steve started knocking on doors. They rotated. Gary, you go first. Nobody was home. Then Steve went. Nobody was home. All morning, nobody was home until the last door. Gary knocked on the door, and a woman opened the door and said, what do you want? And Gary was so scared, he said, my name's Steve, and this is my friend Gary, and we came to talk to you about God. And they both caught what he said, and they started laughing. The woman slammed the door and said, quit smoking dope. Don't knock on my door again. They went back to church for lunch, and everybody was talking about how they led someone to Christ, how they got to pray with someone, how people were crying, and they started passing out the lunch, and Gary and Steve said, we ain't eating. We fasted. Because there ain't no way we ain't going to have nobody we could talk to about God. They decided to go to the trailer park on the back side of the property of the church. The first door they knocked on, a man opened the door and said, what do you want? And Gary said, I came to tell you about God. And for 30 seconds, the man stared at Gary. Gary got a little nervous. And the man said, wait just a second. Left the door open. Gary and Steve looked in. He walked to a dresser, and there was a mirror. He grabbed something off the dresser, turned around, walked back and pulled a gun and pointed it at Steve and Gary. And he said, for the past hour and a half, I've been staring at myself in that mirror. I buried my wife yesterday. And I said, God, if you're real, send somebody to knock on my door and tell me about you. Gary, at 14, prayed for a man, and for his whole life since then has served Jesus. Kingdom come. He set those two boys up for failure in the morning so they could win in the afternoon. Kingdom come. What happens if we really start believing this? A bus ride can turn someone's day around forever. A trip to the grocery store can give somebody life forever. If we start living what Pastor has set up, this kingdom come, something can happen and all hell will shake when you put your feet on the floor every morning. Somebody touch your neighbor and say, kingdom come. When Pastor asked me to preach, I started thinking, I said, how could I put this together? How could I make this look like it needs to look, be what it could be? How could I make this happen? And I went to one Bible story, and it's in the book of John, chapter 11. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a visitor here, I read a little, talk a little, read a little, talk. Before you know it, we're done. And we're going to beat the Baptists to the buffet. I say that a lot. I'm feeling some chicken on a Sunday, you know what I'm talking about? Ain't nothing like a good chicken on a Sunday, you know. That's old school right there. So let me just read this story to you. I love this story. So John 11, verse 1. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped it with her hair. So the sisters went to send word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. Verse 4. When he, Jesus, heard this, he said, this sickness will not end in death. No, this is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Verse 5. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. Okay, now wait. You're sick. Your friend is sick. The one you love is sick. He's going to die. You need to come. So you hang out at the beach 2 more days. Does anybody think there's something wrong with that right there? Now hear me out. This is the perfect story for kingdom come. Because his ways are not like our ways. His thoughts are not like our thought. How he functions is not the way we function. We may want him to do something, but in the end, we have to say, not my will, but your will be done. Somebody say, kingdom come. Touch your neighbor and say, this is going to be good today. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. If you're visiting, it's good here every day. Was that praise and worship? I'm telling you, God is in the house. God is here this morning. I walked in, they were practicing, and the first thing I said was, dude, God is here. And the second thing I said was, don't mess it up. And listen, if you do that, you're going to be all right. Because it's not my will, but his. I love this. He stayed there 2 more days, verse 7. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judah. Look at verse 8. But Rabbi, they said, a short while ago, the Jews tried to stone you, and yet you are going back. Kingdom come. His ways are not like our ways. You know what's cool about that little sentence right there? Don't be scared. I can only say it the way I grew up, y'all. Don't be scared. Some of y'all scared. Don't be scared. When the world says, you come back here, we're going to kill you, just show up again. You say, come on, see what you got. Come on. Because to be absent from this body is to be present with the Lord. If a brother ain't afraid to die, he a dangerous brother. So guess what? His kingdom come. When I die, it'll take 24 dudes carrying my coffin down the street. But we're going to be singing a praise song all the way down there, all right? Why? Because here it is. I ain't got nothing on this earth I need. Because everything I need, Jesus has already done. Kingdom come, kingdom come. Come on, brother, help me preach, man. I got you on this. Are y'all ready? This is what we got to do. Everybody look at your neighbor and say, kingdom come. Oh, y'all don't know where I'm going today, but I'm going to get there, all right? So let's go. They're going to try to kill you. Verse 9, Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? Anyone who walks in daytime will not stumble, for they see by the world's light. Verse 10. It is when a person walks at night, they stumble, for they have no light. Y'all didn't see, so many times we so focus on Lazarus coming from the dead, we don't see the nuggets that he dropped up in this thing. Because here's the deal. Sometimes it's as dark as 3 a.m. at noon. Because he's not talking about a daylight. He's talking about a soul night. Can I just drop mental health on you? A lot of you are like, well, why would we have to? Everybody's talking about mental health. It's simple because, see, in March of 2020, when they shut the world down, it's called abandonment. So a lot of people couldn't do their normal routine, so they felt abandoned. Did you know the same region of the brain that deals with pain deals with abandonment? So our whole world went into pain and abandonment at the same time in the same issue. So now teenagers are flooding their way to psychiatric wards because they're trying to commit suicide. Well, we're not in a pandemic. No, but they're still there. They're still there. What can set a kid free? Jesus. What can turn your darkness into light? Jesus. What can take a mind and make it right? Jesus. So what we got to do, we got to start praying for his kingdom to come. Somebody touch your neighbor and say, kingdom come. Oh, this is good. Verse 11. After he had said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up. Now, y'all watch this. Think kingdom come. Look at verse 12. His disciple replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he'll get better. Sometimes you wonder about the 12 brothers he picked. And sometimes I believe Jesus is like, Daddy, what'd you do? But see, here's Jesus. Look at verse 13. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples, they thought he meant natural sleep. So verse 14, so then he told them plainly, Lazarus dead. Sometimes you cannot beat around the bush. You just got to say it the way it is. Dude, I grew up in that house. Y'all know what I'm talking about? See, now kids, you look at me, kid. If you're a kid in this room, you don't know nothing. Y'all don't even know what a dictionary is. You ain't never looked up a word except looked in the search on your computer. You don't know what a phone book is. Y'all wear seatbelts. We had mama's right arm when we grew up. Come on, old people, clap your hands right now and say something. Kids don't know nothing. You got to talk to them plain. He dead. Your brother dead. Look at verse 15. And for your sake, I'm glad I was not there. Somebody say kingdom come. Now, y'all do know there's two sides of a coin. He's telling his disciple he dead, but I'm going to go raise him from the dead. But you got two sisters who love Jesus, who thought Jesus loved their brother. They sent word and he never came. They knew how far it was from where he was to where their brother was sick. And the brother, Jesus, who loved Lazarus, who loved Mary and Martha, he never showed. Now listen to me. If somebody don't show in your life, you and I both know you writing them off. What do they call it nowadays? I don't even know what they call it. Oh, cancel culture. Seriously. Cancel me. I don't care. I am 50. I'm a little long in the tooth to care about who's following me on Instagram. Seriously. Why? What are they? How much? Never mind. Let's just go on. He said, I am glad for your sake I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Look at verse 16. See, that's all a normal person would need to hear from Jesus. But then there's Thomas. There's a reason why he got the nickname Doubting Thomas. Look at verse 16. Then Thomas, he said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we may die with them. I'm pretty sure Jesus never really slapped one of them brothers. But if the thought ever crossed his mind, somebody just give me a right hand wave if you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes a brother need a backhand. You know what I'm saying? Just to slap him into reality. You got to realize what's going on. Everybody touch your neighbor and say, kingdom come. Touch your other neighbor and say, are y'all with me? Can I keep going? Are y'all learning something? All right, watch this. Verse 17. On his arrival, Jesus found Lazarus was already been dead and in the tomb for 4 days. 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem. And many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him. But Mary stayed at home. Hey, y'all don't get mad at her. See, we can get mad at Mary because we already know the whole story. But if you walked in Mary's shoes, every now and then you're like, I don't understand. I have a dear friend. His wife and his son are at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis. Y'all know me just saying that. Their son has leukemia. He's an 8th grader. She's tired. We talk to her almost every day. I don't know why that happens. And every now and then, me and God, we have these moments. I don't know if y'all ever do this, but I will yell at him just so I can feel better. And I believe he lets me so that I can feel better. But after a certain amount of time, I stop and I go, all right, I'm done now. I know some of you like, oh, you're a preacher. Y'all don't do that. Oh, are you kidding me? This past week, we had a knockdown drag out, me and God. He should be tired today. I bugged him every day this week. But he understands. You see, he knew that Martha would come. But he also knew why Mary stayed home. See, this morning, he knows why you're here. He knows where you're sitting. He knows what's going through. He knows those of you who are a little apathetic right now. You're like, oh, well, I guess I might as well go to church. I don't know what's going to happen. It's the same old, same old. I'm just here. I'm just about to, hey, but guess what? You here. And being in the room means for you, his kingdom can come today for you. So she went and saw him. Verse 21. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would have not died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, dude, I love this. Look at this, verse 25. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Okay, look, that's a drop the mic right there, all right? She goes, I know he'll rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said, baby, I am the resurrection. See, some of y'all got a picture of Jesus as some dude with blonde hair wearing a white dress with a purple sash running through the woods hugging trees. My picture of Jesus is Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator with the gun saying, I'll be back. That's my Jesus, all right? Because when you face the hurt that we see in the world today, we need a Jesus who's going to step in and show out, all right? We need to let him do that. That's what Reformation's about. Him using you to step into the world and to show out for the kingdom of God. Somebody touch your neighbor and say, let him step in. Touch your other neighbor and say, let him show out. I'm going to be honest, I'm feeling more at home. I've been here 6 months now. It's over. I ain't going nowhere else. Listen. Sundays like this can shift us more to where he wants us to be. But it takes us saying, I'm in. Because if I can be totally honest, not all of y'all in. So, well, let's just see what happens. Let's just see how this goes. Let's just see. Okay, let's just see. That's why Martha went and Mary stayed home. Let's see what happens. I am the resurrection. Dude, I love that. I am the resurrection. The one who believes in me, he will live, even though they die. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is coming to the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside and said, the teacher is here. She said, and he's asking for you. Verse 29. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Everybody say, hey, got up quickly. Now, see, first of all, it was just a rumor that Jesus might be there. Now that rumor became a reality. You know what that means? She heard a sermon that convinced her what was real is real. Once you're convinced what's real is real, that's when he, Jesus, becomes your conviction. And once he's your conviction, you got to change or you got to go. Because he'll just convict you so much. Then he goes, you know what? I've given you everything. Now it's your turn. What you gonna do this morning? Look at me. What you gonna do this morning? What you gonna do? You've heard it. You've been in church. You heard the music. Presence of God was so strong this morning. Only thing left right now is for somebody to respond. What you gonna do? It ain't up to me. I ain't got nothing to do with this. I'm just a brother from another mother. I'm a beggar telling another beggar where the bread is. That's all I am. I've said it before here. I'm nothing but the biggest, blackest Hallmark greeting card from heaven you ever heard in your entire life. Now it's your turn. Oh, it's all off me. I could do what I got to do this morning. It's all good, because guess what? In about 12 minutes, somebody's going to have all the pressure on you. You got to respond. You got to decide. He gave you a free will to choose or reject him, to say yes or no. His kingdom will come. Question is, will you be a part of it? That's why when Mary and Martha said, he's here, he's asking for you, she said, I got to go. And she didn't just go, she went quickly. Oh, come on. But you don't know where I'm from. Shut up. I might not know, but he does. He saw what you drug in your spiritual world. He knows who you are. Verse 30. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who was there had been with Mary in the house comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went. They followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where hey, did y'all get that? I heard Pastor Becky go, wow. Hey, people might think you're going one place, but instead you're going to lead them to Jesus. Okay, this sermon is coming off better than I wrote it, okay? I ain't gonna lie, y'all. You may think I'm really good at this, but second service ain't got nothing on first service, y'all. You better be glad you got, I don't know if I can duplicate this puppy right here, because I'm telling you right now, I just figured that one out. They're like, oh, she going to the tomb. Oh, she going to the tomb. And they just followed her straight to Jesus. People gonna look at you. How could they be happy? What have they been doing? Where did they go on Sunday morning? Let's follow them. Straight to Jesus. Somebody touch your neighbor and say, straight to Jesus. We need a t-shirt. Follow me straight to Jesus. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. I got to do this. I'm happy today. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Do you think Mary and Martha kind of talked? Hey, this is what we're going to say. Because you can't say the same thing like that without talking to your sister first. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came along with her also weeping. Oh, come on, y'all got to get this. Look at it on the screen. He was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? You see, Jesus is man and God wrapped up in one person. The God didn't come out until you started weeping. You thought you were by yourself. You thought no one saw you crying. You thought no one knew your pain. You thought no one could understand. You thought, I'll just go to church because I have nowhere else to go. You woke up at 3 o'clock this morning. You just got dressed and came to the building. You thought you were sitting alone. You thought you were all by yourself. You thought nothing could help you. You thought, but from the first song until right now, something deep inside you started stirring. Why? Because he saw you weep. And that put the God in him in motion. Not for a church, but for you. Because you are the church. Saw him weep. Where have you laid him? See, when Jesus starts to be who he is, he ain't going to play around. He's going to go straight to the problem. He's going to go straight to the hurt. Where have you laid him? Come and see. Are you there this morning? Are you ready to simply say, come and see? Come and see. Come and see. And when you invite him, look at the next verse. Jesus wept. If God is going to watch his only son cry, then you know Daddy about to do something about it. He ain't going to let you. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Hey, it's 10:18, y'all. It's morning. Y'all ready? I got to finish this. Dude, the presence of God. Come on, Jesus. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him? Look at verse 37. But some of them said, could not he who would open the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying? Hey, look at me. Let him talk. Just let him talk. Because greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Verse 38, Jesus once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave and a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, Martha said, by this time, there is a bad odor, for he's been dead 4 days. Okay, some of you will cry and say, God, help me. But when Jesus gets to your hurt, when he gets to your pain, when he gets to your sin, and he says, move the rock, you will come up with one final excuse. And all Martha could come up with was, it smells. And if you look at the King James Version, it says, it stinketh. Okay, now look, let me just do this. I'm a college grad. I got this, all right? Your socks you wore for 3 days in a row stinks. Hear the S on the end? Your little brother who hadn't taken a bath in 7 days and smelled like a nasty taco stinks. Y'all got it? Your baby diaper stinks. But my brothers and sisters, if you put a TH on the end of a smell, if you put stink on something, that is the nastiest thing you could ever do in your entire life. Let me go ahead while you're laughing, lay it on you. Jesus did not come for your flowers. He came for your trash. He did not come for what looked good. He came for the nasty. He can handle it. Kingdom come. Touch your neighbor and say, kingdom come. Jesus said, I did not tell you, I told you that you will see the glory of God. So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, I thank you. I thank you that you hear me. I knew you always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe in you. When he had said this, Jesus called out in a loud voice, Lazarus. The dead man came out with his hands and feet wrapped in strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said, take off the grave clothes and let him go. Oh, I got to go. But before I go, I got a question. Has anyone ever wondered if a brother dead for 4 days, where did he go? So at the end of my sermon this morning, I like to drop a little old school on y'all. If you're a kid who don't know what a phone book is, you're going to enjoy something new. But if you old school and grew up with a man by the name of Carmen, he gave me a little insight of where Lazarus went. And it goes a little something like this. Are y'all ready? Everybody touch your neighbor and say, here we go. I am the resurrection and life. He that believes in me, Though he were dead, yet he shall live. A certain man had died in the town of Bethany, and Lazarus was his name. The Bible said he was a man that Jesus loved, and his sisters thought the same. Mary and Martha longed for Jesus' healing touch to come and raise their brother because they loved that boy so much. But Jesus had a plan, not known to any man, that would soon take away all their pain. They were waiting for Jesus to come and say, Lazarus, come forth. When Lazarus died, he went to where the saints of God did stay, in a holy place beyond the tomb. And there he saw Elijah, Moses, Samuel, Eve, and Ruth, all the others jammed up in a room. He turned around and saw old Gideon standing by the door. He walked up and said to him, yo, bro, what this meeting for? Well, all right, this is testimony night. So why don't you have a seat? Because the meeting's about to start. While Mary and Martha was just waiting for Jesus to say, Lazarus, come forth. Moses shook his stick and said, this meeting come to order. Can I get a witness for the Lord tonight? Abraham kicked it off and said, well, I want to get this started. He gave a child to my barren wife. Isaac waved his hand and said, hey, Daddy, I knew him too. Jacob jumped up and said, amen, Grandpa, preach it. Old dignified Solomon adjusted his robe and said, I knew him. He made me so smart, I just started to preach it. Ezekiel said, I knew him as a will within a will. Job said, he healed me when I was almost dead. Samson said, I knew him. When some Philistines tried to jump me, I took a donkey jawbone and I busted a few heads. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, we knew him in the fiery furnace. Jonah said, he gave me a second chance. Daniel cried out, he knew me in a hungry den of lions. The Holy Ghost hit King David. That brother just started to dance. Lazarus got so excited, he shouted as loud as he could, hey, I knew him too. Moses put his stick down and said, little brother, who are you? But everybody got real quiet when Lazarus proclaimed, but I knew him in a way y'all never did. You see, I walked with him. I talked with him. I saw his teaching awe the crowd. Those famous tears of compassion I could actually see. He used to come to my house after church, and my sisters would make him dinner. I even support his ministry every monthly. You see, I watched him confront the Pharisees. I was there when he fed the 5,000s. I heard people gasp when he healed the lame. You see, I even remember the little things that many would have forgot, like the simple, loving way he said my name. Up at the grave, they rolled the stone away, and with a loud voice, Jesus started to say, Lazarus. You see, I can hear him, Lazarus. It's like yesterday, Lazarus. It's sounding like today, Lazarus. Jesus, Lazarus, Jesus, come forth. I don't think y'all got this. When he said, Lazarus, come forth, he said, sickness be healed, mountain be gone. When he said, Lazarus, come forth, and when Lazarus came out with the grave cloth on his face, all he could do was take away the pain, take away the sorrow, take away the shame, loose him and let him go. Kingdom come. Kingdom come. Even in death, we win.